Well, good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing? I have to start off, well, first of all, welcome back. I have to start off by telling you that I randomly took the people who normally come, and then the people who sometimes come, and then the people who never come. And I basically went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 through 7. So every table should be equal, but they're not. I should have just drawn it out of a hat. Or maybe it's just because Harold Skaggs is popular, so he's got 12 people around his table. Yeah, I don't know. So we may have to work on that. So yeah, yeah, exactly. It'll be a transfer portal. People will be looking for NIL money. That's gonna be great. Can I receive? I'll leave Harold's table for $20. That type of thing. That's gonna be nice. All right, we have lots of announcements. We have lots of stuff to talk about. But first of all, let me tell you that on every table, there's a sheet that looks like this. And there should be enough for everyone. If Harold's table doesn't have enough, then let me know. There are other tables I know have plenty. But you're welcome to take one home. It's basically our schedule for the year. So it shows you we're studying 1 Timothy in the fall, and it shows you the verse, and then it shows you what the verse is about. Warning against false teaching is next week. And then after that, starting January the 9th, after Christmas, it's red letters, which is what Jesus said in most Bibles, where the letters are in red, and we're going to study different verses. And you can see the verses and what the theme is on each one. So you're welcome to take one home with you. If you don't want one, you don't have to take one. If you want extra copies, come see me because I have some extra ones. So whatever you need, just to make sure that you know what is going on. I also want to remind you that Don Jones, I think, is the only person on that camera over there right now on Zoom. If you're ever interested in staying at home or you're out of town and you still want to join, we're always on Zoom. And we also have a YouTube channel, so you can watch it after the fact if you overslept out of town and you just want to catch it up or you want to share it with a friend. You can do that. And I sent you that in the email that I sent out a week ago. If you didn't get it or if you missed it, let me know, but I'll probably put it in future Monday emails as well. Breakfast. Hopefully you all saw that there's breakfast. Thanks to Dave Hoffman, who brings the breakfast every week. Thank you, Dave. Help yourself. There's a basket back there to make a donation to help cover the costs of getting the great food that Dave gets every week. So if you could do that, that would be great. But help yourself to the breakfast, the coffee, and people go to extra effort to make sure that you're well fed and taken care of. So thanks for that. Here's a big one to talk about. That nice walk, I know it was darker than this morning when you walked up there to get to this building. It's going to change soon because, as you know, we've had the little fence around Eaton Hall for, about a year? And that fence is going to grow and come out this way. And for a month or 2 or 3, we're not sure exactly how long, there's going to be a small path to get up, basically the straight line that you see right there. But then after that, we're going to have to go around to get in to come in the front door. So just be ready for that because of the construction on Eaton Hall that's going to affect us basically all year long. And the construction starts basically October the 1st. Hopefully it'll be over next summer, but it'll affect us. That means all throughout this study of 1 Timothy and of the red letters. Questions about that? Any misunderstanding or anything that you're worried about in that respect? Good. Next thing is my eye. If you happen to see me at church in early August, you saw me with a black eye, and I'm probably sure that some people were like, wow, Mike got in a fight or Kim got mad at him or something like that. I have to tell you the story because there's several parts to it that I think are kind of funny. About this time last year, it was actually in the summer, I saw a little bump that popped up on my eye, kind of like a sty. It's kind of like what it felt like, except it was, instead of going up, it was coming out. Not very far, but it was there. I'm one who thinks, oh, it'll get better, it'll get better, it'll get better. Didn't get better. So finally, around November of last year, I went to my dermatologist who gave me yeah, it's by your eye, I'm not going to deal with that. Okay. So he sent me to a specialist. So when he says, here's a specialist for you to go to, an eye guy, I'm like, that doesn't sound fun. So I put it off and put it off and put it off. And I finally made an appointment, or I guess end of April, and I went in May. And when I went in May, it was a super fast appointment. He's like, yeah, it doesn't look very good. We need to get that off of there. I'm thinking, okay, let's do it right now. He says, yeah, make an appointment and come back. Okay, so I make an appointment, I come back early June. I go back, and he basically, without being too gross while you're eating, he basically just sliced it off and took it off and said, it'll be fine. I'll do a biopsy, but it looks like it's good because of this and this and this. It's okay. A week later, the phone rings. My phone rings, and I answer it, and it's the doctor. Bad sign. He says, yeah, Mike, we did the biopsy, and it came back malignant, so you've got basal cell, blah, 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 blah. We got to get that off. We got to cut off part of your eyelid. I'm like, really? Okay. So you need to make another appointment and come back. Well, so I make the appointment. It's a month away. I have to wait a month, which I didn't mind waiting, except when you're having a surgery like that and you have a month to think about it, it's not fun. Yeah, if you've seen my face, I have lots of scars. Falling off the bed here, flashlight hitting me here, dog biting me here, basal cell here. I've got lots of scars. So I wasn't worried about a scar, but now I'm thinking, over the course of a month, mind you, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to take off, well, over here, they're going to take off a little pie piece of my eyelid. But they're going to do what's called Mohs, which means that they're going to cut it off, test it to make sure that the margins are clean. If there's not, they're going to cut off more. So now I'm envisioning, okay, they're going to cut off this much, and then they're going to test it, and there's going to be more. So then they're going to cut off this much. They're going to test it, there's going to be more, they're going to cut off this much. And now my eye is going to look kind of like this. So I'm getting more and more nervous about it because I'm talking myself into this. So Kim goes with me to the hospital. I have to get it done at Seton, and I have to go 2 hours ahead of time, which I don't understand. Doctors in the house probably understand it, but I'm there 2 hours ahead of time. I'm just sitting there, and nurses come in, take my blood pressure and that type of thing. But I'm just sitting there, and I'm thinking, and suddenly my face is going to look like this, but because of what I'm envisioning, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to calm down. I got to relax. I'm going to say the Lord's Prayer. So I said the Lord's Prayer, and I felt a little bit better. And then 5 minutes later, I'm getting nervous again. So I'm going to say the Lord's Prayer, and I felt a little bit better. And about 5 or 10 minutes later, the anesthesiologist comes in, and he's starting to explain some things to me, and doesn't sound very fun. And I'm getting a little bit nervous again. So I say the Lord's Prayer, and then I think, you know what? I'm going to be so nervous when they finally wheel me into the to the operating room that normally the last time when I had this done, or not this time, I guess when I broke my arm back in 15 and I had to have surgery for that, when the anesthesiologist gave me the drugs, he had me count backwards to fall asleep. 99, 98. So I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, can I say the Lord's Prayer when I fall asleep? I felt like that's going to help me. I'm going to go to sleep feeling good. So they wheel me back to the operating room. I'm very positive about this. I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask this request. I think everything's going to be okay. And then all of a sudden I see the doctor. And now when I had signed in at the hospital, it said eye surgery, blah, 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 take off approximately 25% of eyelid. And that's one of the reasons why I'm a little nervous. So when I see the doctor, I'm like, the anesthesiologist has already injected things into my IV. I see the doctor right over there. I said, Dr. Bladen, I'm just curious, this 25% of my eyelid, never said the Lord's Prayer, but everything turned out okay. They only made one cut, and my scar is slowly but surely going away. We have a masterful piano player, so now let's stand and let's sing. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Help me, mold me, Fill me, use me, Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Pray with me. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing us together today. Thank you for this great group of men, and thank you for your word, which we love to study and fills our hearts so, so much. Blessings to everyone's here, and our prayers for people who are not here and couldn't make it for various reasons. We bless everything in your name. Amen. One other thing I forgot to mention was that there are cards on all of your tables that promote Men in the Word, or kind of an invite for Men in the Word. I would love for you to take one and give it to a friend, give it to a coworker, give it to a neighbor, give it to somebody, and see if someone else can benefit from the great word that we study here. So you're welcome to take them, and again, if you need more, I can get some for you. I told you last year that I'm going to wear a different jersey because I have lots of jerseys that have my name on it. I'm a sucker on eBay for finding any jersey that has my name on it. Today I'm wearing the Pirates, and there's a reason behind it. 1979, Willie Stargell. Everyone I knew wanted to bat like Willie Stargell. They tried to imitate him, and so much. Everyone wanted what's called the pillbox caps of the Pirates, and they won the World Series with a great comeback from being down 3-1 to win the World Series over the Baltimore Orioles. But one thing that really always stands out about the Pirates from 1979 was their "We Are Family," and I have to say it that way because of the song by Sister Sledge, that they would sing at the songs. They would have people dancing on the dugouts as they would sing it during the games because they were such a family. And it makes me think of so many things about what we're studying this fall with 1 Timothy, because 1 Timothy is written to kind of to tell you about churches and how churches should be put together. That's why it talks about leaders and deacons and keeping the faith and using your gifts and how you treat people and what you pursue. And that's why how 1 Timothy was written, but it's attached, it has to do with other things as well. And I think the Pittsburgh Pirates are a great example because you could say that Willie Stargell was the elder. Guys like Jim Bibby, Bert Blyleven, Phil Garner were the deacons. That everybody on the team, from Dave Parker to Rennie Stennett to Bill Madlock to Kent Tekulve, they all had different roles. And think about at a great church, everyone has a different role. I mean, what makes churches great? Why is Covenant such an incredible, incredible church? And first thing that a lot of people are going to say is, well, we have an amazing pastor, lead pastor in Thomas Daniel. And Thomas is incredible, and he is one of the most gifted speakers I've ever seen. But no offense to Thomas, if you've ever seen this, there are a few, not many, but there are a few other pastors who can speak that well when they're up on the pulpit. But most of those people don't have a Jill Williams or a Ben Davidson, who is here today, or Catherine Sedbury, or whoever you want to look at, Whitney Bell, all the great people who are in their different roles at this church and make this church so great. And that's the key to having a really good church. But it's also the key, I think, to having a really good company or a really good group, is people knowing their roles, being good in their roles, but also being in that role and knowing what their role is, so there's no overlap or disconnect. You could say the same thing about families. What makes families great is knowing your roles. Proverbs 27:17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend." And that's what we all look for when we're looking for churches or companies or groups or in our family, because we want to sharpen others. We want others to sharpen us. And when we don't get that, we have an empty feeling. There's something that's a little bit missing. Think about any group that you've been a part of, not to pick on them, and we're not going to talk about their names, but if you've ever been a part of a group or a company that had some disconnect and there was a problem here, a problem there, things didn't go as smoothly as they should have. I could tell you from 30 years of working in television here in Austin, I could tell you lots of stories about times when at the TV station things were smooth as silk. Ah, it was nice, good times. I could tell you sometimes when things were bad, and I'm not talking about for me, I'm talking about for the whole company, for the whole station. Because when, I'll give you an example. There was one time when a manager really wanted an employee from another division to do something. So she couldn't find him. He wasn't working that day. Couldn't find him. So calls his home to ask him, hey, we need you. Come in. No answer. So what does she do? This is old school. She finds one of those reverse phone book directories where you can find out by address, looks up the person who lives next door to him, calls them and says, hey, can you go over and see if he's in? Because I need him to come into work. So the neighbor goes in. Anyway, it caused a little bit of strife between those two and groups. And it's the type of thing that you do something like that, and that's just one example, but you do something like that and suddenly there are bumps in the road that keep, again, a company, a group, a church, a family from running smoothly. And that's what we're looking for. And that's what we're going to starting next week when we're studying 1 Timothy chapter 1, 1 through 11. That's what we're going to learn this fall, is how to run smoothly and everyone know what they do. Personality tests. Who's taking a personality test? You don't have to do it this morning. We studied Enneagram here at Covenant a couple of years ago, but there's DISC, the MBTI, the FIRA. There's so many personality tests, which I think in some ways are great because they let you know your strengths, your weaknesses, what what your letter is and what it's best to deal with, or what your number is and what it's best to deal with. There are lots of good things about it, I think, but I think you can go a little bit too far because sometimes if you overthink it and give yourself an excuse for why, well, I could never work with him because he's a 1 and I'm a 3 and those don't match, never going to work, not going to happen. So, going back to Proverbs, he who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. It keeps it a lot more simple thinking about it in that respect. But again, I'm going back to what we're going to learn in 1 Timothy is how we fit in as a church, but you can correspond these to how you fit in to a company, how you fit in with a group, how you fit in with your family. I want to talk about vacations. I'll tell you a quick story about my family. That when my kids were very, very young, they were born in 97 and 00. And when they were very, very young, maybe I was a bad dad in doing this, but I was like, I don't think we should take big vacations because the kids are so young, they're never going to remember it. I was blessed to be able to go to Nassau, the Bahamas, when I was 2. I don't remember that. Went back in 74 when I was 7. I remember that. So sure, that's great. But when they're that young, I mean, I'm not saying we want to keep them in a cage, but they're not going to remember it. So Kim was like, well, we should take a vacation. Sure, we can take a vacation, but why go to the effort and the expense of doing something that they're never going to remember when they can have the same amount of fun by doing X, Y, or Z? So we did that. Well, finally, when the kids were in 06, they were 9 and 6. Kim comes to me. She was doing something for a company that was going to have a convention type of thing in Nashville. And she came to me and she said, what do you think about me going to Nashville? I think if I go, I'd learn some stuff and I think it'd really help. I said, let's make it a road trip. We'll take the whole family. And I don't know if your wife has ever given you that look that's, really? Yes, let's make it a road trip. So you see the little red line. We drove from Texas through Arkansas up into Tennessee. And I told the kids ahead of time, I said, we're going to look at lots of things. We're going to have a fun time on this road trip. But second thing is think about the fact that we live in a state capital. So I want to get your pictures in front of a state capital, every state capital. And the first thing out of their mouth was, when are we going to Hawaii and Alaska? And I said, slow down, hold up. We're going to see 2 state capitals on this trip, and we'll build from there. So we went on this trip, and we had a great time. The next year, we drove to Indianapolis. Same convention. It was in Indianapolis. It's a road trip. And Kim again was like, wow, it's a long way. So we'll have a great time. We drove, saw lots of state capitals, lots of stuff, did the same thing. The next year, it was in Tennessee again. We went the Southway, the southern trip, and saw lots of more things. The next year, too far to drive, we flew to Washington and did a little circle in the Northeast. The next year, we flew up to Chicago and did a little circle up in the Midwest. The next year, we flew to North Carolina and then drove down to Florida and flew home. The next year, we flew up to Boston and did a road trip around New England. The next year, we flew to Ohio and did a little road trip around Kentucky, West Virginia, into Detroit, and then came home. And then the last year was 2014, when Brandon was about to be a senior and Taylor was about to be a freshman. And we flew up to Minneapolis, did a road trip around there. As you can see, went all the way down to Denver and back up through Omaha to Minneapolis, and saw lots of stuff. And in the end, we wound up with 39 state capitals. We missed 11, and it still pains me that the kids got too old and too busy where we couldn't do it anymore. But we had a great time doing that. But we had so much more than that because we complemented each other. Because again, what I was talking about before about knowing your roles and knowing where you stand and what your job is and what your position is, I guess you could say. Because as we went along, Kim is an incredible navigator. Even before we had iPhones, she would have a paper map and help me find all kinds of places as we're going along. I was the one who went through and found all these different places to see. Because besides seeing fun stuff like Mount Rushmore and the White House and the Arch in St. Louis, we saw stuff like, the statue of Rocky and the statue of the Fonz and the world's biggest bottle of ketchup and the Field of Dreams and just fun stuff like that just made road trips fun, as opposed to, okay, we're going to drive to this city and then we're going to drive to this city. My wife likes to say that I'm like Chevy Chase on vacation. I'm always looking for that great big ball of twine. But we went through that. But while I was doing that and Kim was navigating, we put the kids in charge of what they're good at. They had to find restaurants. We said, we're not going to eat at chain restaurants unless we really have to. And I think we only ate at like 2 in all those years. But we would go to different restaurants, one where you could see the seat was in a bathtub. But they found different restaurants because, again, having iPhones especially, it's so easy to find stuff. And because of that, we had a great, great time. And I'm telling you the story because my birthday was a couple of weeks ago, and my kids both gave me a birthday card. Each gave me a birthday card. And while most years birthday cards are the type of dear dad, hope you have a great birthday, love you so much, enjoy your day, blah, 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 blah. Both kids sent me cards that were very long and very deep and very personal, talking about, thank you so much for all that you've done for me as I've grown up. I've learned so much. And what we've done together as a family has been incredible. And it has taught me so much. And I've learned so much from it. And I now know through all these years of doing it, what I want in my future and how we should be. And having parents who are not only parents, but also friends and almost like coworkers, because we work together so well, means so much to me. And they both said that. I'm showing, and I got them both, especially since our daughter lives in New York. The kids weren't around as I'm reading it, and I'm getting a little teary eyed. I'm showing Kim, like, can you believe this? It's time for a little cry, I think. Read this. And it just, something like that, it meant so much to me, but it reminded me that no matter where we are, whether we're in a church, and you're a Ben Davison who's brand new, and by the way, Ben, thank you for being here, who is brand new to the staff and fitting in well. But whether you're on a staff at church, you're in a group like Men in the Word, you're in any other group that you're in, whatever company that you work for, if you're still working, how you fit in with that company and how you work with other people and how you work with your family and fit in with your family. It it means so much, not only to you, but to others. Again, it goes back to as iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of a friend. And that's our goal. It's our goal here in Men in the Word, but that's our goal in life. Again, in everything we do is to sharpen others and get sharpened by them. Amen? Amen. That leads us to some questions, and you can also talk about what you've been doing for the summer and how things are going in your life. But questions are, who has sharpened you? How have they helped? And whom have you sharpened? Thank you.